Good morning. Good morning, Cedar Falls. Good morning, Chicago. Good morning, distinguished guests and, well, frankly, owners. Nice to see you. We have a great program for you today, but I have a little bit of housekeeping to start things off. Couple of things. Every year the Northeast Iowa Food Bank has a food drive that we participate in, and we do a great job, and we're going to, of course, do that this year as well. Last year, we put together 1,400 pounds of food, which is pretty nice. And we break into yeah, give yourselves a big hand. But that's the bar. So I see no reason why we can't do 15, 16, 1,700 pounds of food this year. You'll be getting an email that what your team is, and like we did it the past years, we'll do that again. So let's beat last year. Also, Cheryl McClumphy asked me to remind you or tell you for the first time that we're going to bring back the good old chili cook-off, and that's going to be a week from today, December 7th. So I guess via Cheryl, let her know if you're going to make some chili so we know how many extension cords to get. That's in a week at noontime, and that'll be fun. Gosh, that really went quickly. So I want to remind all of you to get your tickets for White Christmas. It's this weekend and next weekend starring me. Well, you know what? There's a video that's going to introduce this gentleman who will be very familiar to you. So with no further ado, let's roll the tape. Gentlemen, our very own futurist, Mr. Rob Mudd.
Hey. Predicting the future isn't easy. Ask my brother, because I set a blackjack table with him last 2 weeks ago, and I didn't do too well. I couldn't predict the cards. That's a pretty interesting video. I don't know how many times I've watched it, but it's been more than 5 times, 6 times, 7 times, and every time I look at it, it seems I see something different, and you think about it. I did this presentation 2 weeks or 3 weeks ago, then of November, in Iowa City for 250 companies around Iowa and so forth, and talking about the same thing, the future. And what I said then is what I just said now, things change so fast. And the part that I try to tell them is this, just stay relevant. There's no way you can keep up with all this stuff. That's why they call them computers and supercomputers, because it's just too much data. And I think that video gives a good example of what we're looking at and how fast time moves. You know, it used to be an 8-hour day, but today the day is 24, so it's sped it up by 3, right? And so you can't keep count, you can't keep up with it, but what you can do is try to stay relevant with what's going on and where it's moving. So let's get started. The future of digital technology. Now this is a timeline of when communication started with the printing press back in 50, and it kind of moves forward, but we left some stuff out, obviously. But let's go to like 1999, 1994, Napster. They're no longer around. Wikipedia it still exists. Bloggers here, Opinions is gone. Friendsters is not. Second Life is going strong. Facebook, we all know. MySpace was dead, now it's kind of making a revival. Delicious is gone. Dig is bust. Flickr is strong on Facebook. You got Twitter and YouTube. So the point is, stuff comes and goes, and it comes and goes fast. And some of this stuff will stick, but some of it won't. There's probably about room in each category for about 3, right? The Father, Son, and the Holy Spirit, the Trinity is what we're going to call it here in a second. But Steve Jobs said that, you know, you got to keep things down at 3 because that's what people can remember. And I think that maybe that's what's going to happen in the digital space, is that you're going to have 3 entities that will be able to provide what people are looking for. Okay, so what's happened in the last 10 years? We have Twitter, Facebook, MySpace. How many people are on Facebook? Well, I know we all are. LinkedIn, Twitter. Those are the 3, right? Those are the 3 major ones. Facebook for social, LinkedIn for business, and Twitter for fast communication. Again, 3. Now, this is amazing. In 60 seconds, me and my brothers used to have contests to hold our breath for 60 seconds. I couldn't do all this stuff in 60 seconds. In 60 seconds, you have 694,000 queries. 168 million emails are sent. 370,000 phone calls are placed on Skype. So within this presentation, there's going to be probably a couple 100 million phone calls being made. Time has moved faster today than ever before. Today and every day. 2 billion posts are liked and commented on Facebook. 500 million users log in. 250 million photos are uploaded. 250 million photos. They say what? 1,000 pictures says 1,000 words. That's a lot of words. 250 million photos. More than 70% of the users return on a daily basis. Average number of minutes, 24 minutes. The average person uses Facebook, which may not seem a lot to Gary, but it is a lot to people. Oh, sorry, Gary. You're not used to people making fun of you. If Facebook was a country, it would be number 3 behind China, India, and Facebook. That's amazing. That many people connected. Imagine all those minds working together, right? That's why time is moving so fast, because of collaboration. And then the technology to do it. In India right now, there's a guy over there, he's the richest guy in India, and he's putting in a system, a 4G system, so that 1.7 billion Indians will have access to the internet via their mobile phones. All up in the air, right? So they don't have to put infrastructure down in the ground. Everything's going to go up top. So they're going to leapfrog into the 21st century from, the 19th century. And when they catch up, they're going to be formidable, right? Just that many people. Excuse me, I don't want to miss this. The world's largest photo libraries. Already Facebook's photo collection has a staggering 1.4 billion photos. It's 10,000 times larger than the Library of Congress. This is amazing. Look at that little square down there. That represents the Library of Congress. The other part of the square represents all the photos on Facebook. I mean, it's amazing. The number of photos taken each year. Now look how it kind of started in 1826 and got higher, right? And then what do you think happened in 2000, 2001? Anybody got a guess? Gary, make a guess. I'll guess for Gary. What happened was that mobile phones could take pictures, right? So Kodak had a problem. And now they're out of business because everybody can take a picture. All those billions of pictures that get uploaded are done through your mobile phone. Never been able to be done before. But that's amazing. And it's just going to get bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. YouTube, 48 hours, video. Now, we all know about video because look where we're at. We're fortunate. Cedar Falls, Iowa is probably one of the content meccas I believe it will become in the world. Why? Because we have the underground infrastructure and bandwidth to communicate a video message. Because it takes bandwidth to get through the pipe to get up on the internet so then people can view it. Well, if you don't have enough bandwidth, you can't get your content up. We're fortunate that we have over 1,000 bombs of bandwidth capability to put it up and to bring it down. So that gives us the fastest speeds of anywhere in the world, right here in Cedar Falls. So this facility is allowing us to talk to people in Europe right now, talk to people in Asia, and stream live, and there's no buffering issues. So we're very fortunate to be living here because look at this. In 2007, 8 hours, 13 hours, 24 hours, 35 hours of video uploaded every minute around the world. So the difference is not that you can do video, right? But that you can do good video. And this allows us to do great video. Online video advertising received 18.3% more viewer attention than TV commercials. Well, we understand that because we use that in our strategy to drive people to the internet where we can tell a message and tell everybody's story. Because stories are what's really important today. Because that's what differentiates us and makes us all unique is our story. But if we can't tell it, we can't differentiate ourselves. But this allows us to do it. Instead of 30-second TV commercial, Gary can go for a long time. I'm going to pick on you all for all 40 more minutes. There are now 2 billion videos being watched each day on YouTube. 2 billion. Now, this is what I find amazing. YouTube is probably the most proficient, forward-thinking, advanced video platform player ever invented in the world. And it's free. Well, it's free for a pretty good reason. Because the guys that own it, Google, are tracking all the data on the backside of YouTube. So every video that the world is putting up on video, the world's become YouTube and Google's creative department. They're able to monitor it and see what people like to watch. And there's a cool thing going on right now out in Denver. It's called Google TV. And they're going to start getting in the TV business. But they're going to make content based off what they can measure from YouTube in the world putting up their content. The world is their creative department, and they're just going to measure to see what people like to watch most, and then they're going to create the same stuff. So these guys, as we all know, they're smart fellas, and data, 3 times, is the gold of the next generation, or right now going forward in marketing. When you can take legacy data on behavior and then predict it based off of enough analytical past data, you can start to predict what people are going to do. And you can start to predict what you need to make and when they're going to buy it. And so we're really fortunate that we have people that understand data and understand how to build infrastructure that allows us to take big data. We've all heard of that term, big data. What's big data? Big data is just different data sets that all get put into one little pool or big pool, and they can talk to each other. That's big data, and we have folks that are building infrastructure that allow us to take big data and learn different things that you couldn't learn before because you have different data sets talking to each other. And I think that's just so cool. More than 2 billion Facebook videos are viewed each day. 1 trillion, the number of video playbacks on YouTube. Okay, why would you play something back? Because you liked it, right? And so if YouTube and the Google guys know what you're playing back all the time, they know what you like. So they can make content that you're going to consume. Engagement of video, emotionally connect, humor, shock, sadness, joy, combines them all. Now what's this doing? It's telling a story. When you can tell stories with emotion, people want to listen. You know, what would you rather do, read the book or go to the movie? I think most people go to the movie. Well, that's what this is. Here we go, the new trinity, video, mobile, social. 3 things. Steve Jobs always said that. He said, anytime you ever do a presentation, just make 3 things because it's all we can handle. Well, this is what we need to understand and handle because this is the future. Video, mobile, and social. So, with that said, Mud TV, right now, like I said earlier, we're broadcasting around the world. Well, this is innovation that we have because of what took place back in the 90s with the government and municipalities. The U.S. government and Congress didn't want municipalities in rural areas to get behind the internet craze. So in the late 90s, they offered a program for municipalities to put fiber underneath their towns and so forth, to give access to everyone. Well, not that many people took advantage of it, but Cedar Falls did. Cedar Falls, Iowa, back in the 90s, took advantage of that government program and laid fiber all throughout Cedar Falls, as I was saying earlier. That allows us to do this. This allows us to have our own TV network on the web to do what? To tell stories, to have emotional connection, but to do it around the world. Speed of time, the speed of communication, staying in front of it, but you got to be able to communicate, and that's what this facility, that's what the city of Cedar Falls, state of Iowa, has allowed us to do. I speak to a lot of places, and I tell people there's not a better place in the world to be than right here. Because we have the access, we're in the middle of the United States, and we can get to the coast, both sides, from here to Chicago, Chicago to Denver, Denver to the west, from here to Chicago, Chicago to the east. So we're able to get our communication, our message out and connect. Percentage of CEOs on social networks. So we got Facebook, we have Twitter, and we have LinkedIn. How many are on LinkedIn? You get your news there? I love LinkedIn. But this is interesting. Percentage of CEOs on social networking. LinkedIn, 25%. Facebook, 7%. Well, this might have something to do with it. The average CEO is 50 years old. So if they're not brought up in that environment where they're utilizing that stuff, it doesn't become second nature, but it is second nature to anybody under the age of, 20, 25. 70% of all CEOs have no presence on social networks. They just didn't grow up in it. How many of y'all have kids? How many of them know how to use an iPad? How old are they? Like 1? Right? So if they're 1 year old and they're using an iPad because they can move stuff around, that's amazing. I couldn't color in the lines. And these kids are able to use and growing up using technology that never existed before. It's second nature. So what do we have here? Good for customers, good for employees. The ability to have social networking and to be able to tell your story and communicate and take feedback and interact. That's what it's all about, right? It's just that we can do it much faster. And when you can do it much faster, new ideas come about. And so let me continue because I can ramble. Mobile technology. This is where everything's moving. And it's moving at an accelerated speed, very fast. The faster we can communicate, what happens, I believe, is that we've iterated so many times now that the iterations that are going on and the innovations that are going on aren't necessarily for the consumer, because the consumer could still get by with an iPhone 1. We're on the 5th iteration. So when we start to go so fast, the computer geniuses start to compete with each other. So it's not so much about what the masses are going to consume as much as it is about the guys at top competing with each other on the next big idea. But the masses haven't been able to consume all the technology that's been produced. So you get a divide, what can be consumed, and then those are that are creating for the future. Does that make sense? And so they iterate faster than we can consume. I give the example of in World War II, General Patton. He wanted to get to Berlin before the Russians did. And he was going, breakneck speed, running everybody, all his tanks and everybody, just going. And then he ran out of gas. He ran out of gas and had the battle bulge, and they had to do a thing called the Red Ball Express to get him fuel so he could keep going. Well, I think that's what we're doing in technology, because we always repeat the past, that we start to iterate so far out that the consumers can't catch up. And so when you see some of these companies that came in and left within a certain short period of time, it's because people haven't caught up with the great idea. They're not one. Now, when those kids that are one, that are playing the iPad, get to be our age, different story. But we can only consume so much. 3 things is what Jobs says. And there's a lot more than 3 things out there, so you can't be everywhere, but you can keep relevant. Mobile technology. This is amazing too. I mean, all these numbers are amazing because they're so fast. 2008, 2012, 100% growth. U.S. sales, smartphone unit sales, in the past 5 years, from 08 to 13. Look how much it's jumped. Everybody, there's like 186 million mobile phones out there. Everybody's going to have a mobile phone. It becomes your post office. It becomes your bank. It becomes your calendar. It becomes everything. It is an extension of you. How many people right now have a smartphone? How many people other than Gary have a dumb phone? Sorry, Gary, can I help it? Phone calls, picture messaging, texting took off in 2001. Look at all the stuff that you can do from your phone. Someone was telling me the other day they were talking about texting and their kid, and they got their bill, and the son or daughter, 13 or 14, was doing like 4,000 texts. And he couldn't believe it. And then like 3 or 4 months later, he was out texting his kid. Right? Why? Because it's fast, right? And it's right there, and it's an extension of us. With more than 600,000 applications for your phone, what is next? 600,000 apps. How many of y'all have? I just downloaded my first one last night. Just kidding. But I don't have that many. So the future. This is interesting. Look at this. Augmented reality, flexible screens. How can we get things smaller and faster? Right? Smaller and faster. Star Trek. How many of y'all like to watch Star Trek? The old ones. What was a communicator? A cell phone. Right? What is being, put them on the screen, Scotty, on the front bridge. What's that? That's video conferencing, right? So the guys in Star Trek saw the future because they were always going at warp speed. Another joke. I just made that up. 3D holographic imaging. You know, you've seen that, R2-D2, C-3PO, right? That's reality. That's going to happen. It already is. Projection. You know, how many of you watch TED Talks? It's a cool site that you should go to and check it out because it's always about stuff that is, you know, in front and all different verticals and so forth. But projection video is coming, but also the utilization of your finger. You know, instead of having mouses, they can already do it. Your finger becomes your mouse. And then any flat surface can become your surface that you project your imaging on. So, I mean, this stuff is, how do you keep up with it? You don't. You just know that it's coming, right? And let someone else figure it out. When it gets here, you'll see if it's accessible and usable and so forth. Do smartphones create action? Now, this is interesting for us being in the ad business because, you know, there's a lot of talk that TV is irrelevant and people aren't using TV and they're just using the web and so forth. But I'm going to show you some slides here in a second that Google came out with, a study 2 months ago that talks about the third screen in the process of how we interact with our technology. And it's pretty interesting, and especially interesting for us when it comes to the ad business and getting people to do what we want them to do, to react for our clients. Everything's got to have an action. Take action after seeing an ad. 79% of people do it on their smartphone. Have a used coupon or offer off their smartphone. Download apps. Average app on a phone is 14% were paid for. A lot of free ones, but only 14% are paid for. That's interesting. Our two-screen multitaskers, TV, phone, and tablet. That's how we watch now. That's how we consume message. We watch the television, we have our phone, or we have a tablet or a laptop, and we hear something on the TV, and then we search for it. GoDaddy. How many people watch the Super Bowl? It's a popular show. You've heard of it, the Super Bowl? I do, and I watch it every year. Well, GoDaddy has a spot in the Super Bowl. The past 3 years, it's been the same spot. It's a 15-second ad. And it starts with their spokesperson, and she goes through a skit. And then if you want to see the end, they say, go to GoDaddy.com right now. They've had, I don't remember the statistics off the top of my head, but they continue to do it each year, and they have millions of engagements. So they know the direct response from that ad to the consumption. And so now they can start to predict ROI, right? Because everything in our business now is about ROI, because you can count everything. And when everything's connected and you can count it, you can predict and just look to see which works best. 60% are three-screen multitaskers. How many of you, this is audience participation, watch TV with their smartphone? How many watch TV with their laptop or their tablet? It's just human nature, right? So that's what we can start to track and use different technologies and understand the progression of how you, the consumers, use it. How does mobile and social affect your work environment? Gary?
One and the same.
Yeah. Okay, well, Gary will like this. Now, we were talking mobile, right? This is just yesterday. We put this slide in. Jim Sartorius found this where? On LinkedIn, a business social network. Google and Microsoft are coming out with virtual reality mobile glasses that are going to be your phone, and it's going to be heads-up display. You know, like jet pilots in the military, when they're going a million miles, they're not looking at their gauges, they're all up on their screen, right? Well, that's what this is. And Microsoft, these are their patents. This is Microsoft's patent of the illustration of what this is going to look like. Okay, back to Star Trek. You know who the character Geordi is in Star Trek? Yep. And what did he have to be able to see? This is it. So this is Google's glasses. You know, I don't know how good a look that is, but she likes it. Let's look at this. So it tells you the weather, so you have no excuse for not bringing your umbrella.
Yeah. Meet me in front of Strand Books at 2.
That's 6 messages.
Oh man, really?
Like, now I gotta walk. There's my path.
Where's the music section?
Now this looks more
Paul here
dangerous than
yet?
texting. But when kids start to grow up and using this stuff, it's gonna become
Hey,
second
dude,
nature.
how's it going?
I mean, if it catches on.
Sure.
But this is an example of iteration
Hey, just a
of
second.
technology. You know, I can't use my smartphone maps, and Google had a problem with it too.
Cool.
But they've got this coming out, so there's a big, wide divide.
Take a photo of this. Share it to my circles.
So you guys get the idea. Improve communication and collaboration through social technologies. I mean, that is really what's they talk about the multiplier, the time and effect of multiplier in threes, because things happen. You know, in Greece, something goes wrong, we know about it in 2 seconds. It gets rid of the margins, the float, the cushion, because time goes so fast, but it's just not 8 hours, it's 24 hours. 24 hours a day, everybody's doing something, and while we sleep, there's billions of people that are doing what we were doing before we fell asleep. And everybody knows it. Television is no longer commands our full attention, but it's still an instigator of how we utilize and search for things on the web. This is what they talk about, the third screen. And so our time online is spread between 4 primary devices. 43 minutes is the average time on television. Still number 1, right? But what that does is that drives people to a destination on the web. So when we talk about our media strategy of using 15-second TV spots and so forth, and not giving the message other than telling people where to go on the web. Why? Because they're engaging with the television and that device in their hand at the same time. So then people go to that spot, that direct URL, and consume the story that you can tell. Because you're not limited to time of a 30-second message to differentiate yourself from your competition. You use the driver, a media driver, to send someone to a location where you can take as long as you want. If you're not boring, they'll watch it. But if it's just a video, that might be boring. So again, we can create it, but we don't just create video, we create great video. We create video that tells stories and engages emotionally. And that's what's going to separate everyone, is that ability. Anybody can have an HD camera because it's in your phone. But what do you do with that footage once you shot it? You got to be engaging. So our strategy that we talk about, these guys validate. 43 minutes on television drives people to a mobile device where you can consume message if you're in the market, if you're interested. You know, there's so much stuff going on. We don't have time to consume everything. We have wants and we have needs. Wants take a back step or back seat to the need. You got to get the need first. Needs are like this, wants are like this. And when you get bombarded with everything, you don't have enough time to digest it all. So, you know, we get caught up in thinking that everybody understands this. They don't. They don't have time to. It's moving too fast. Now, they'll catch up. Your kids, multitaskers, I don't know if that's good or bad. You know, we talk about social media. I don't know if it's social. Maybe it's antisocial. Because if you're not talking to someone and you're using text, you're vulnerable to their interpretation of what you're trying to say. And when you allow that to happen, you can be misunderstood. And that's when a lot of things go wrong. So is it social? Sure. Is it antisocial? I think so a little bit, because we're not talking to one another. And if we can't communicate to one another personally, how do you know how to do that then technologically? So, you know, it's just things to think about. With this multi-screen world, how are children evolving with it? How, you all have kids? You tell me. How are your kids evolving with technology? This is a crowd participation question, because I don't have kids. Lightning fast, speed, right? They love it. It's natural. That's the key. It's natural. It's an extension of them. So how much more are they going to be able to create and innovate because of speed and understanding how to connect with others that have like-minded ideas? It's amazing. And like-minded ideas, when you have this facility in this part of the country, in this part of the world. You know, I won't get too fatalistic, but we've got the oceans on both sides. We're in the middle. We're surrounded, the United States, by 7 or 6.7 billion people. There's not a better place in the world to be than right here. This is the last place anybody's going to get to. And we can communicate around the globe. And we can do it like we're doing right now. Not many people can do that. This is interesting, and this is also scary.
If you work in marketing, you better start upping your game.
Because you haven't seen anything like us yet.
In just 10 years from now, we'll be buying and influencing buying
In ways that will confound you.
We won't just watch your ads, we'll expect smart, tailored content based on our social graphs.
Tailored for me.
Me,
Me.
Me.
and me.
We want to interact with it as we watch it. Not just with touch, but with voice, with gesture.
With intent. You better embed everything that is featured with additional information, social APIs, and e-commerce functionality.
And we mean everything.
Everything.
Everything. The car,
The skirt.
the hotel,
The app.
Because we expect to double tap on anything to get more information.
Don't worry. You'll offset the cost by on-selling any leads to those data aggregator type companies. We'll spread it through our networks.
And co-create with you.
and when we do buy, there are normally more of us than there are of you.
We can change your business
In one trade.
As long as the deal is on.
Augmented reality.
Will be the new reality.
AR apps will almost function like special skills to help us navigate reality more effectively.
You wait and see what the iPhone of 2021 looks like. The clue is in the name.
And you better get used to paying us.
Our browsing, influencing, and purchasing data.
We'll make some of us pretty rich.
But don't overstep the mark, otherwise we'll block you.
Mass blocks kill brands overnight and keep you up all night. So if you work in marketing,
You better start upping your game. Because you haven't seen anything like us yet.
Aren't they endearing? Remember that movie, I don't know how many years ago back, but the little character looked like a kid, and he was like the devil and so forth, and Chucky, yeah. There's a lot of Chuckies there, it looks like. But they get it though, right? And so when they grow up understanding data and how to utilize it, one of the kids there talked about what's the iPhone going to look like in 2020. I don't know if it is a phone. It could be in our eyes, right? No, this is only, that video, 7 months, 8 months old. See how fast it iterates? That didn't exist, the idea of putting on your glasses and chips. I mean, it probably existed, but it wasn't, they didn't have a patent put into the patent office. Things go fast, and it's all on data. Baby tech, nearly half of the first-time mobile tech users aren't even in kindergarten yet. Check out the percentage of children have used a smart device, such as an iPad or iPod. Look at that, 0 to 1, 10%. I guess those would be called fast-track kids. 2 to 4, 39, and 5 to 8, 52%. So those kids have access to more information, more data than is in the Library of Congress at their fingertips. And it will talk to them as well in any language, that they're, wherever they live, and it will educate them. That's cool. It's fast. All I want for Christmas. What do you want, Gary? Gary? An iPad. Good answer. Let's see. Children ages 6 to 12 want the same thing. They want an iPad, so that makes sense. Gary, that you would say that. iTouch, the iPhone, tablet, computer. All right, they're all digital tools that are all connected to one another and connected to around the globe. This is what's going to teach our kids because they can do it, it's engaging, and it's fast, and it stimulates their brain. And if you go back to this slide real quick, which I will, they say that by the time you're 5 years old, you have been programmed on what kind of human being you're going to be. Now, you can change, of course, but that's why we talk about patterns and data, because if at 5, they're starting to pick up on the trends of these kids, they can predict what they're going to be buying when they're 10, 15, 20, all the way through the life. You know, General Motors used to have a statement said from cradle to grave. Let's sell you your Cavalier, and then we want to sell you, when you're 50 or 60, your Cadillac and everything in between. That was their model. Have you as a customer from cradle to grave. Well, Jobs did it, didn't he? Because he gets kids working with their iPads when they're 0 years old. They're not even 1, 10%. And then 39, then 52, by the time they're 5. So they're programmed on how to interact, right? And so someone's measuring that interaction. I mean, Orson Welles in Big Brother, he was right. All I want for Christmas, we already know that. Managing your reputation. Well, this is one that Gary probably knows a lot about. Gary, I'm just hammering on you. Yeah, but it's good. You deserve it. You deserve a lot of it. 72% of consumers trust online reviews as much as a personal recommendation. You know, it used to be in the paper, if you saw it in print, it was true. Well, now that adage has taken life in the digital world. But the difference is, half the stuff you read isn't true. How many of you have forwarded on an email that you get one back from your buddy saying, did you check it out? I have. A lot. It's kind of embarrassing, but it sounds real, right? So we don't know necessarily what all is real and what isn't, and that's why we do this, reputation management. You know, it used to be, you do something good, someone might tell one person, you do something bad, they'll tell 5. 5 times 5 times 5 times 5 times 5, right? It's multiplier. Did you hear about it? No way, really? Are you serious? Oh, yuck. So, you know, whatever that is, that's a reality now. McDonald's, they got in a little trouble. Dude said he found a roach in his sandwich. Well, that's not real good advertising, is it? If you sell food. So, you know, you have to be a full-time inspector of the web, and we have people that do that too. What are we laughing at? One time I walked into McDonald's, and I type 2 diabetes floating in the air and threw up. Type 2 diabetes must not smell good. Does this mean TV is dead? No, on the contrary. This is Google. This is that presentation I was telling you about that came out 2 months ago. TV is a major catalyst for search. Why? Because we're watching it, but we're also engaging the TV with our iPad or tablet and our phone. And if we see something of interest, we're going to check it out because we can. So TV isn't dead, we just got to use it differently. Consumers search for things they see on TV, like the GoDaddy example, like any other example that you all know in your minds, sitting on television, and you saw something and you went and looked at it. You've done it, so you know what they're talking about. Search drives access shopping content more on mobile. How shopping-related content is accessed. Type the website directly in the browser. Well, how did they know what website to type in? They saw it somewhere, maybe on the television, right? Already had it bookmarked. So if they already had it bookmarked, that means they had to already have it. How do they get it? Television or some reach medium. Through an email, through search engine, via social networking site. So one of the things that is unique about Mud is this. We have it all. We're holistic. We have search. We have the digital. We have the AdWords. We understand Google. But the other thing that we understand, 31 years of it, is reach medium. There are 313 million people in the United States. That's our number. It's a finite number. And we have to have a reach medium because we know people are going to buy things. We just don't know who they are yet. We don't know their name. So we need to use our technology, our traditional media, to spread out. And when people hear what we have to say because they want to buy what we have to sell, they'll use our message to go to the digital world. And that makes us unique because we can do it all. And you got to have it all today because one thing doesn't carry the ship. How do I make a presence? Keep it quick. Simply, navigation, be thumb-friendly. Thumb-friendly. Who's ever heard of that one before? Make it accessible. Learn, listen, iterate. Well, that's the most important one, and that's the one that's sped up so fast. Look at this. That's a spy. That's what spies look like now. They look like mosquitoes. This came out, DARPA, the defense organization in D.C., who creates these futuristic things. That's a drone right there. And it can stick you with an injection of, I don't know, something poisonous or sleeping, I don't know what it does, but you talk about being a fly on the wall, there it is. Measure, track, analyze. What they're going to be able to measure and track, I don't know, but that's pretty spectacular. And then who's the guy flying it? He's not in there. Media measurement. So this is the other piece of the pie, the most important one, and the one about big data and the whole marketing world talking about, is the ability to do this. Once you put content out there to match the behavior and to measure the behavior, you have to have analytic tools that allow you to make sense of it, make sense of that data. And that's what we have in what we call ad suites. And it measures the 4 components to marketing. Who's my market? Who am I going after? We're starting with 313 million people. That's all there is. And then we work our way backwards. What's our media that we're going to utilize to go after that market? Digital, traditional, we're going to use them all, right? But then we got to create a message to go to that market, but the message has to fit the media. Because you're not going to put a 60-second radio spot into a direct mail piece that has a URL, a personal URL. You have to be able to create the message to match the medium that's going to deliver it to that demographic that we're going after to be able to track it. And you have to have measurement. So you have to measure the beginning, the middle, and the end. And when you get enough data, you'll be able to predict, to a greater extent, what's going to take place in the future. Identify your maps. Everything today is visual, right? So we can tell a lot of different stories by looking at a certain picture. And that data has to be visual, so you can make sense of it. And this is all of our MIT stuff and our ad suite stuff. And those guys have done a fantastic job of connecting the dots, the market, the media, the message, the measurement. So we can improve it. Because everything's about conversion ratios, because there's patterns, there's processes. So if you can fix the process by a percentage point to the next process to a percentage point, you can start to make your machine better and better and better and better. Again, measuring the message all the way down the funnel. So 5 things to take away from today. It's fast, it's changing, but it's not a black hole, meaning it's not going to gobble you up. 3 things. You got LinkedIn, Twitter, well, and Facebook. Pinterest is there too, but LinkedIn, Twitter, Facebook, listen and explore, try it out. Be relevant. You don't have to be a master at any of these things. You just got to know kind of how they work. Social media cost is time. Take time to learn and research. Apply measurement benchmarks to everything you do. Measure everything, which we do. Stay dedicated to quality customer service. This facility and what the people in it and the different disciplines that are in this building, 5 years ago, you'd never have data folks sitting next to creative people like Gary. They wouldn't get along. That would never happen. You wouldn't have salespeople next to a studio, next to edit bays, and voice VO talent, and then graphic artists, and then 3D augmented guys in one room working together, because that's a horizontal concept. But that's where the innovation comes from, because all those things are connected. And that's why we're so unique and so special. And I'm excited. Obviously, you can tell I'm excited, but all of us should be excited because we can do what others can't. Others want to be able to do what we can do, and we just have to do it the best. So with that, I'm going to introduce you to a special guest who is also a visionary, who is also a futurist, who also sees how to take advantage of the digital social media and utilize what he spent his life doing. And his name's Daniel Mang, and he is out of Nashville. And Daniel and Michael, why don't you come on up? Go ahead. Oh, thanks.
That was awesome. Hey, you know what else you can do on your mobile? Have your own personal trainer.
There you go.
How about that?
How about that?
While they're hooking up Daniel to the mic, are we going to play the video? I guess not. Well, anyways, yeah.
Thanks for coming and learning more about this customized program designed with you in mind. Throughout all the years of being on the road, touring constantly, it's hard to stay in shape. Early on, I didn't stay in shape at all. But there did become a point in my life where I realized that to give the fans the energy that I want to give them every night on stage, that my life had to change. And it changed a lot when I met Daniel Mee. We worked out a plan that fit me, that took what I was doing every day on the road and what I had to do every night on stage to fit the energy that I was going to have to give the fans every night. I wish all my fans and everybody that comes to our show could have Daniel by their side every day, you know, to custom fit their workout. Now it's possible.
Everyone would benefit from a personal trainer and nutritionist that goes with you wherever you go, holds you accountable, and costs a fraction of the price. Whether you have limited time or a limited budget, this is an inexpensive way to have your own personal trainer when you want one.
Daniel's already had the first 1,000 sign up for the first 8-week challenge. But don't worry, you can still sign up to receive updates, early access, and valuable information from Daniel for a healthier lifestyle.
I'll let you know when this new custom program is ready for you to try before anyone else. You can learn more about it on this site and can submit any questions or feedback you might have.
Believe me, we tried to get Kenny, but he was unavailable. But he promises to come sometime in the future. But the reason I'm excited about having Daniel here is one, because of a history. My family and his family go way back. We're related to the same people back in Nashville, just on different sides of the family. And you know, Daniel, before I even went to work for Mud, had met Rob. We used to go to Chicago and go to the Cubs games, and we all hang out. And he's met Mary Kay and Kathleen, so he's familiar with the family. And then 4 or 5 years ago, when Rob and I would get in front of anybody who would see us and talk about Mud Advertising and the hypercasting platform, Daniel put us in front of a couple music industry people there in Nashville. So he's familiar with what we do. Last March, I got a phone call from Daniel, and he wanted to do some advertising to bring additional people to his physical facility for additional personal trainers that he has. Daniel's already loaded up with the likes of Kenny Chesney. He also works with Kurt Herbstreit of ESPN, the face of college football. He works with, who's the other guy?
Jay DeMarcus, the Rascal Flatts.
Rascal Flats, and then the music industry people, and then just average people like us. But he wanted to do something for the personal trainers that he had working out of his facility. So we talked about that, but then our conversation kind of turned more about Daniel and, you know, his unique position of being able to work with one of the biggest music entertainers on the planet and being able to use that to launch who he is and what he does that's unique as a personal trainer. And, you know, I said, look, you know, as we talked to, you ought to give Rob Mudd a call and talk to him about it. Well, 2 weeks later, Rob calls me and says, hey, I just had a conversation with Daniel. Next thing I know, we're on our way to Chicago, and Terrence happened to be there. And that's where this thing started. And I know that over the last few months, y'all, Spencer has given updates on the progress of this. But, you know, we're at the point now where this thing is about to go live for the final launch, and being able to bring Daniel to Cedar Falls, to be able to meet the people he hadn't met who have worked on this campaign, and for y'all to be able to meet Daniel. And, you know, we really just appreciate the opportunity to work with you, and I'll kind of let you go from there, Daniel.
Well, first of all, guys, thank you so much for having me here. I've know some of you, and I've always wanted to come here and see this facility, and it is absolutely incredible. Basically, you know, my idea at the time was just thinking about a way to bring personal training to everyone. Personal training is expensive. It's a luxury, but doing it for the last 12 years of my life, I see and feel and touch the changes it makes to people's lives, and it's really it's exponential. People don't understand who've never had a personal trainer, you know, what it does actually do for you. And I've always wanted to think of a way where we could bring it to more people, where it's less expensive, where they're getting good education, where they're doing it safely, which is a major component of a personal trainer that gets lost in a lot of things in the fitness world. When you see DVDs and things like that, the safety component goes out the window half the time. And then people go in and they try to work out. They don't know what they're doing. They walk into the gym. They meander around. They don't know what to do next. And so I tried to figure out a way where we could bring customized workouts and nutrition plans to people where they could take it with them wherever they go. So they've got it right there on their phone, just like that presentation showed how everyone is using their phone for everything. So that was my initial idea. I brought it up called Rob. Rob was very excited about it. I booked the flight that day. I was up here the next day, and we had a great meeting with Terrence and Rob, and just kind of laid out the foundation of what we were going to do. And it's been a pretty incredible ride so far.
You know, what I think is really cool is, you know, here's this guy, and he's a friend of Daniel's, Kenny, but, you know, this guy gets pulled in a lot of directions. And the fact that that he wants to step out there, that he, you know, because, you know, he wanted to bring something unique to his audience, to his fans. And he knew that he had to change his life to do it, that he had to be physically fit. He had to have the endurance and be able to put on a show that people won't forget, because his shows aren't shows, they're events. And, you know, for him to step out and support Daniel and be able to use his fan base and his audience as a way to launch this thing is something special that Daniel has done for Kenny that changes people's lives. And he wants to be able to provide that to his fan base. So, which I think is pretty unique.
Absolutely. He's been, Kenny's he's a wonderful guy. I've known him for a long time now, and he's provided me a lot of opportunities to travel and see a lot of places. And with this particular thing, when I brought it up to him, he was overly excited about the opportunity to endorse something like this, to where he really could, you know, at least just push it out to the incredible fan base he has. And it's, we all know that can't be overstated.
I want to just acknowledge some of the people that have worked on this. And Terrence, why don't you come out here for a second?
Hey, yeah.
You know, and Rob gets excited about a lot of things. And Rob don't know the word no. But you know, Terrence, this building an app. We've never built an app before. You know, so you know, we couldn't have done this. And as we talk about technology and we talk about being on the cutting edge and moving forward and everything happening at a rapid pace, but this is something now that we have in our portfolio that we can now say that we do. It helps us grow as a company. And but Daniel being able to talk with Terrence and Terrence being able to understand what his vision was and be able to lay it out, you know, says a lot about our company. And I don't know, Terrence, if you just want to comment about that.
Sure. Well, I do appreciate it, and I made a promise to Daniel when we first met, and to not distort the relationship that Kenny and him have with this process, and I hold true to my promise. But it's not just me, it's my entire team. Spencer, Dave, Josh, Matt, the entire interactive team, the marketing team. We've been nonstop with working with Daniel, but it's also the Mudd family as well too, with Rob bringing me over to sit down and meet with Daniel. It's a collective effort with all of this. So I thank all of you as well too. So thank you.
Also, with those Gung Ho's, one of Gung Ho, Heather Wirtz and Jackie Albright, they wrote all the content in that video. They've been involved in this thing we just finished up the beta test, from being able to put that thing together and being able to reach out to the 1,000 or so people that participated to engage those people, to get feedback, so that from an ongoing standpoint, we're able to fine-tune this thing for the final launch. But I just want to give a big gung ho to the team that did this, and you know, Daniel, this is a huge undertaking. You know, it's a risk, you know, personally, financially, and for you to allow Mudd to be a part of this thing, you know, I just really want to thank you.
Well,
All right, buddy.
thank you, man. Appreciate it.
All right, everybody, have a great day. Thank you.
Good job, man. Oh, no, now for me, it's official. Happy Gung Ho Friday, everybody. It's great that these guys are related, but in the South, isn't everybody related? I mean, let's be serious.